as World War I was tearing through Europe, town after town being destroyed, and all too often, as the Polish and the Russian armies were fighting, it was the Jewish people that were caught in the middle and always in the crossfire of these two countries. The town of Lipinchuk, which was in the shadows of Radin, where the great Chofetz Chaim was. My great-grandfather, Reb Tuvia Rotberg, a tremendous goyin and Talmud Chacham, a Talmud Muvagad of Chofetz Chaim, was in that town where he had a yeshiva. And the government officials came to him and gave him the mandate to close down his yeshiva, and if not, he will be killed. Without even thinking, he responded that he will not close down the yeshiva under any circumstances. They went and took him to the city square where they were about to hang him. The different Askanim came and pleaded with the government officials. They tried bribing them, they tried begging them, but to no avail. And when they brought him to the gallows, he silently said Vidui as he wept and said Shema as he was preparing for his death, but he would not close down his yeshiva. Everybody stood by in awe, and as soon as he was done, he collapsed. At that point, the government official who saw that was taken aback, agreed to the bribe, and allowed him to go. After that, he went and became the Rav of Luna, that small town of Luna. And the Chofetz Chaim sent a letter to him and called him HaKadosh Reb Tuvia. He called him a Kaddish for his Mesiras Nefesh. And every time I would hear this story in the Akdama to Mishnas Tuvia, the story is printed from his son, I used to think, my grandfather saw this. My great uncle saw this. Think about the greatness of that generation and where we are today. And there's an incredible Gemara. The Gemara talks about the Isha Shunamis when she tells her husband that I know ki Isha Likim Kadishu. She says about Alicia, I know that he's Kaddish. So the Gemara in Bracha says, how did she know that Alicia was such a holy person? And the Gemara in Bracha says, either because she saw there was not a single fly on his table. Another pshat is that she saw his bed was pure. But the Yeshalmi in Yevamis adds a third pshat. And the Yeshalmi in Yevamis says that the Isha Shunamis knew that he was an Adam Kaddish Mishum Shaloi Hibitba. Because he did not stare at her or gaze at her improperly, she knew that he was a Kaddish. And I was thinking to myself, every time I think about this Gemara, we think about the incredible Kadoshim of the previous generations, what they've went through, what they've worked through, how hard they had to be Moshe Nefesh. Think about Alicia, the greatness of who he was and everything he's accomplished. She couldn't say he's a Kaddish because I saw his Hasmada, I saw how he learned, I saw how he maintained himself. And what does she say? Because he didn't look at me improperly. And we see from this an incredible thing. In order to be a Kaddish, if somebody who didn't have to be, wasn't put to the test, where he has to give up his life for the sake of Torah, even if you didn't go through that test, just from the very fact as we go about the streets and we're all around, and there are things constantly which we have the ability to look at that we shouldn't. When we make that choice and not to, the Gemara is saying we are a Kaddish. A Kaddish comes in all forms, in all shapes of people. It doesn't have to be someone giving up their life. It could be someone making that choice and saying, I'm not looking where I want to look. That is a Kaddish as well.